the Swindon Borough Council's plan to introduce photovoltaic cells, solar panels, to the roofs of about half a dozen buildings around town. It's a big project, and I'm pleased to say that one of our previous guests, Toby Ferenczi, from the solar energy company Engensa, is on the phone. Hello, Toby.
Hi there, John.
How are you doing?
Yes, very well. Thanks for having me.
Now, I was really keen to get your opinion about this scheme because it was announced very quickly here in Swindon, and the council voted it through. They assessed all the information. It was voted through within just, I think, a week or two of it being made public. And it's a relatively big scheme for a town of our size. So what's the official take from an expert point of view about solar energy that the scheme's gonna give for the town and give for the council?
Well, actually, at the moment, it really does make a lot of sense for Swindon Council. We've seen a very large number of town councils make the decision to invest in solar recently. So Swindon are really not alone in doing this. And the reason why it's such a good investment for them at the moment is because of this government support program, the feed-in tariffs. Which will actually mean that they make a very, very good return on that investment that they're making, better than actually most other forms of financial investment that the council could make. So it will actually mean a long-term revenue for them. And at the same time, it will do a lot for the energy efficiency of their buildings and do a lot for the environment. So doing it in the current climate is actually a very sensible decision.
And you mentioned there about the energy efficiency of the buildings themselves. That there's been a big discussion recently, or at least in the last year to 18 months, about the carbon footprint of products once they get to us and how they've been made, and that you can buy a laptop, for example, and the energy that's been expended in producing it is 95% or something of the amount of energy that you could even use when you use it over its lifetime. So the impact it's had is already there. You can't really do much about it. So do you reckon we're going to see that in terms of how buildings are perceived in terms of their carbon footprint over their whole lifetime?
Yeah, well, it's certainly something to consider. When you're talking about energy efficiency, you need to consider all of the embedded energy around it. So how much energy actually not just went into is used in the building, but how much energy went into making the products that are used in the building. With solar panels actually have a very good energy payback period that's constantly improving. The manufacturing processes for solar panels has improved dramatically over the last 10, 15 years, which means that the energy payback for a solar panel is in the UK is something like only 2 years. So once it's been up there for 2 years, it's already paid back all of the costs of it, so all of the energy that it's used that has been taken to make the panel. And then a good solar panel should certainly last 25 years and probably something more like 40 or 50 years.
So the council are going to be spending about £900,000 on the scheme, and they're going to be saving, their estimation of the saving they'll get each year is £12,696 every year in the electricity bills they currently pay. And the council is going to be estimating to sell back to the national grid their feed-in is going to be worth £3,555 a year. Is that a good deal in terms of sort of just crunching those numbers? Does it seem like a good deal that they've come up with?
Yeah, well, I've also seen the same press release as you, John. It's not actually quite clear what those numbers refer to. Actually, the Swindon Council, if they're doing it correctly, as I assume they are, they should be making an overall 10 to 11% return on the initial investment every year. So for the 25-year lifetime of the feed-in tariff. So I expect when they make that £900,000 investment in all of the solar panels, the overall savings should be actually in the region of £90,000 a year. That's what I would expect, because that's what everyone, the sort of returns that everyone investing in solar is getting at the moment. So I think the returns are about 10% a year guaranteed for 25 years, which is better than most other investments that the council will make.
Okay, turning it back to what we were talking about when we spoke to you last time about domestic energy solar use. We talked about that last time, and there was a scheme that a friend of mine was speaking about just yesterday, and was saying they'd received a letter from one of the big main energy companies, and they had an offer which was just under £100 to have a solar panel put on your roof. They would install it for free. And the deal was that you pay the just under £100 upfront fee, they install it, and then they get to use half of the electricity from it, and the other half you get to then have to take off of your normal bill. That seems like a sort of special offer type deal rather than having the long-term view of having your whole roof done. If people were thinking about going down the solar route, and what is it worthwhile looking at these type of sort of short-term deals, or is it best to look at the long view of having the whole of your roof used and the best you can get for the space you've got?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, John. So at Engensa, what we actually offer both of those schemes, like some of the big energy companies. So we are able to what's important is to know what your options are in terms of financing a solar panel. So the first option is to pay for all of the costs of the solar panels yourself. We call that nest egg. So in the Engensa website, we explain what that means, and where you basically invest all of the upfront costs of the solar panels, and then you get the benefit of this feed-in tariff. So you're really making a financial investment there, and it's very safe and a very secure investment that will give you over 10% returns a year. Now, and that's actually what we recommend, so long as you can afford to make the initial investment, which is £10,000 to £15,000. So it is a large upfront investment, but it's a very worthwhile one if you can afford to make it. Now, that obviously doesn't fit with everyone's financial plans. So what we also offer is our sunroof scheme, which is very much like the one you just described, except ours is completely free. And that is really where we make the investment on behalf of a customer. We pay for everything, including all of the maintenance. And then the solar panels are installed for free, and all of the electricity that they produce goes towards reducing their electricity bill. So you don't have access to the feed-in tariff subsidy, but then you don't have to make any investment at all. It's just something that reduces your electricity bill. And at any point in the scheme, you have the option to then buy the solar panels and then start to claim that subsidy for yourself. And that's our sunroof scheme. So if you go to mysunroof.co.uk, you can read about that scheme. But there are these two options, and one is about making a financial investment, and the other one is just reducing your electricity bills without making any investment. So it's worth considering those two, but you need to understand what the two options are. Don't be fooled into thinking that just because the one that's free is the better one. You do need to understand the choice that there is. But there certainly two very good options, and the difference just really depends on your financial circumstances.
All right. One of the last question I wanted to ask you, it's a very simple technical question. If you live in a house that has a west and an east facing roof, are we ever going to have solar panels on our roof, or is it not worth it?
No. Well, actually, I mean, so if your roof is facing east or west, you lose about 15% of the overall energy output in the course of the year. So you still get 85% of the benefits. And with the current levels of the feed-in tariff, that still makes for a very attractive financial investment. I used to work in the solar industry over in Germany, where they've had these feed-in tariffs for a lot longer than we have. And there you see every roof covered, south, east, and west. So eventually it will happen. But generally speaking, it's the south-facing roofs that get covered first. But eventually, John, every roof will have solar panels.
Solar panels and wind turbines and green roofs as well. It's going to be the whole of townscape in about 10, 15 years is going to look entirely different. Absolutely,
it's the start of a revolution, and it's one where energy will be created not in large centralized power stations, but we'll start to have more control about producing our own energy in the communities where we live.
Great. Toby Ferenczi from Engensa, our guy on the roof with the renewable energy. We'll speak to you again soon. Thanks a lot, Toby, for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me, John.
Cheers now. Bye-bye.